All right, so first you want to make a template. So you see what I'm doing is I'm folding a piece of paper and rolling it up as if to make a cylinder, because our final form is going to be a cylinder. And so once I found a size that I thought would make a nice looking mug, because that's what my project is going to be, I covered it in just regular masking tape. And that's just a way to give it a little more strength so the water from the clay doesn't make the paper kind of stick to it and get all funky. When you're rolling your coils, you want to make sure that they're all consistent in their diameter, right? So they're the same thickness. For this project, my suggestion is make them the same thickness as your pointer finger. Okay, your pointer finger is a good reference. It's a nice, it's a good size for this project. We don't want it too thick, but we certainly don't want it too thin because it won't be strong enough. And so then you're going to start creating your pattern, right? Remember, when you make a pattern, everything is going to be repeated predictably. Those are the two elements of a pattern, that there's some element and you're repeating it predictably. So using your coils and thinking of them as like a pencil, right? They're pencil marks. So shape them into really simple little forms and then repeat them in predictable ways. So if you do it once, then you got to do it on the opposite side, or going across, or however your pattern progresses. You can see here my pattern. I'm making two, it's called a radial pattern, so that the pattern is actually radiating from a central point. Patterns can go across from left to right, or they can go from up to down, or they can radiate, right? And so this pattern is radiating from a central point, and I'm making two, if you see, two little central points. So one, and they're going to mirror each other. And so there'll be one on the front and one on the back of my mug. You certainly want to make sure that your coils are all the same thickness, because you don't want to end up with low spots. You want to make sure that your project or your vessel is going to be the same thickness on all parts, because basically it's kind of like you're building a slab by pressing it into that template, right? That's the piece of this that's considered a press mold, because you're using that template, pressing clay into it to kind of give you a new form, right? So all those coils come together and basically build like a slab. Once you're finished, you want to build whatever other components you need, right? So I'm making a mug, so I'm going to need a handle and a base. So right now, constructing the base, it's really simple. Just put a couple dots, and then I made a big cinnamon roll that goes around it. You want to make your base bigger than you need, because you can cut some off, but it's not, you can't really add more. So you want to make it a little bigger, but try to get it as close to the correct size as you can. And for the handle, I just braided 3 coils together. If you don't know how to braid, ask your mom. Once you have everything all put together, you want to use something like the back of a spoon, or something where you could have some controlled pressure to blend together all of your coils on one side. So on the side that was facing you, now you want to blend that out and use a rib or a credit card or something like that to just kind of smooth it out. So for me, this is going to be the inside of my mug, and I want it to be really nice on the inside. I don't want it to be all ugly, right? So I'm going to do the same thing for my base, because the base also is going to need to be on the inside, and I don't want it to be all funky looking in there. I don't need to blend one side of my handle, because it's not going to need to be watertight to fulfill its function. So when you're ready to start putting things together, you want to clean them up. There might be little marks from your paper. Don't go too heavy with it. Just use the tip of your finger, or possibly use a paintbrush. But if the clay is wet, you just want to use the tip of your finger. You also might want to wait a little bit before you start actually building your form. You don't want it leather hard. But you do want it to have enough of like some strength so that you can stand it up and it's not going to collapse on itself. So what I did is I just slipped and scored that edge together. You can overlap them if you'd like to, or you can just slip and score them and blend them. But since I made that pattern that continues, I wanted mine blended.